International Media TV. Television that listens to you. Hi, I'm Johnny Burrell. Welcome to the program.
We're here today and we're talking with Carolyn Stokes, a longtime friend of mine, I think about 20 years.
At least 20.
And she's long been in the battlefield for the rights of women and the war on peace. And so we welcome you, Carolyn, for all the hard work you've done over these many years.
Well, thank you so much, and of course I share it with you.
Well, thank you so much.
You've done so much yourself also.
Thank you. Well, you know, you're here at Chateau 3, and you're here because you had a stroke.
Right.
But who would know you had a stroke? You're back, bounced back, looking beautiful, and had wonderful care. And so let me say, first of all, congratulations. You're right back doing all the things you used to do. I think it's wonderful.
Almost back.
Almost, but I think it's wonderful.
I think just moving from day to day, seeing that whatever I can do today will help make tomorrow. And so what I've seen is that everything that helped me get over the stroke, including all of the therapists and all of the speech persons, I think the one that I liked most was my speech therapist, because once she found out where I was headed, then she's tried to gear everything she did towards helping me with my teaching and my book writing.
Right, and you also had a great motto.
Right.
Right. Never look back.
And never look back. Looking back, I guess I have to also say that I had a good role model as far as my father and mother were concerned, even though they were separated when I was 3. This was during the Depression. My father went to Flying Dutchman Airport, and my mother took over from my grandmother, who had several strokes, and went to work herself to keep us up. But unfortunately, when I was 9 or 10, my mother had multiple sclerosis. So I had to help her overcome that too, and she overcame it. That helps me today, that no matter what you have, someone can help you overcome it. And my father and my mother both helped me overcome the past. So I feel very grateful for this.
Well, let's hear a bit about your family. Your husband was head of the Tuskegee Airmen. Your father. Yes.
Was one of the key people who helped train Tuskegee Airmen, because he'd been flying since 1929, and when he enlisted in World War II, that's when they sent him to Tuskegee Air Force to help train those airmen. So those airmen would come to the house and tell us about how much they appreciated my father.
That's
during
wonderful.
those days.
So now your husband is also out here with you,
Right.
Joseph.
Right. And
that helps with that helps with your healing, I'm sure.
It helps an awful lot, since we met when we were in college. And he went on to the Air Force after that, and then for about 6 or 7 years he was in the Air Force. And going to Meharry, I was in Washington, D.C. and had to take care of a job and a kid. So I learned how to overcome that too.
What's nice about what your father did was, of course, keep the family connected to their Indian heritage. Would you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, my father's father was a Cherokee in the Cherokee of North Carolina, in Asheville, and maybe that's why we have, my name is Carolyn Ashe Stokes. It's because we were from Asheville. But he always stayed with the Cherokee Indians. And in fact, my brother, when he was coming up, he was in the Native American Navy when he first started out.
Right.
And so he always kept the Native American heritage very close to him, and he became the Native American historian for the whole United States and Canada.
My goodness.
And so his son now is one of the shamans up in this country. And so we have kept that part of it alive, even though we all know everyone that we've been associated with since I was a little girl have had all of these nationalities that they didn't dare tell anybody. In fact, my aunt told me, don't ever tell anybody you're Native American because you'll be killed.
Oh my goodness.
It wasn't until I was in college that I was allowed to say
that.
I was a Native American.
Well, now also you're related to Arthur Ashe, the famous tennis player.
Yes, Arthur Ashe and I had the same grandfather.
Oh my, okay.
And so that grandfather, Arthur, would come to this area, and he went with the post, and he told them, Tom Berkeley's wife brought him there to have him say how we were so connected.
Oh,
and
yes.
whatnot. So Arthur has since died, but we found out during the family heritage that he was killed.
And you have a daughter who's a doctor.
I have a doctor who's in the Navy. In order to go to school, we didn't have the money then. She joined the Navy, and the Navy sent her to medical school. What she had to do was to pay back what they did for school by joining the Navy. So she went all over the country.
Isn't
in the
that
Navy
wonderful?
as an OBGYN specialist. And the men never had a woman like this before. So they were a little afraid to go to her.
Yeah.
But she let them know they either had to keep her or she would send them someplace else in the world.
And you have several other children.
I have my youngest son, and he grew up right in Orinda. He was the halfback and a model for some of the girls
Wonderful.
when they went on stage.
Right.
So he has come up with being in a real estate that crashed, as you know. All three of those businesses went down.
Absolutely.
And he had foreclosed, and now he's coming back up, right, like he should, and he's doing a security for homes, and he's helping to run a restaurant in Hercules. So he's saying, I can't, Mom said, you can't give up, you gotta keep on.
That's right.
That's what I've told each of them.
That's wonderful.
They do have to keep on because this is what life is.
This is what life is about.
Don't give it up.
That's right. Well, now, first of all, the ambiance of this place is quite lovely, and I'm sure that adds to the healing, as well as being here with your husband.
Right.
But the thing I like to know is that you picked up right where you left off. You went right back, and you're now working with the women here in this facility. Could you tell us about what you're doing with them?
Absolutely. This was again my speech therapist who said, you've been a trainer, a teacher, and a woman's protagonist for all of these times. I think you should have a women's group here. And I said, here? And she said, I'll go tell them that you should have a women's group here. So she did. They set me up as a women's support group here in this Bay Area. So now what I'm doing is trying to help them to give their own stories, so put it in an anthology like some other seniors are doing, and see if we can't get their stories told among people. What I found out about storytelling is when people get it out from inside themselves
It's true.
and give it out to everybody else, it takes that load off of them.
Absolutely.
And they are so pleased that they're able to tell somebody about this they've been holding in for so long. It also heals them.
Well, it's also cathartic.
It is
And I think the same thing, I have children in the theater.
Yes.
It's the same thing with plays. When you write a play, most of these men, I've been to plays where they've been homeless and other things, and they work out all their issues on the theater, on the stage. And the latest play my son was in, he said, this man's life is out here on the theater stage. So writing and getting things out, and that's so helpful to keep people preventing strokes. Because if you could get all of this out, and I think this is why many people last so long when they're playing music, they can get it out in their music.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a very important thing that I really hope that you will get a lot of publicity on, so that people can understand it's not a last-ditch effort. There are preventive things to do, as well as things to do after you've had the stroke.
I think that's what will be in my next book.
Yes.
The 2 books that I've written so far will be because of my kids and all of the things they were dealing in school systems and whatever because of their diversity and all the teachers and teenagers. So the next book I'm hoping will write to people that are all 4 stages of the life cycle. And the life cycle, again, will have child, adult, senior, and elder. Elder is the last one we don't know how to handle.
Right, right.
No one knows how to handle the elders. And I think Chateau is trying to put some kind of a course for elders that other people may not have known about.
Yes.
And so just finding out what elders can do, not just sit in a corner
That's right.
and look bad.
That's
Yes,
right.
I think elders will one day be able to say, oh, I can have a new career.
That's right.
I can write a story. I can
That's
do
right.
music. I can do whatever. And it's all right. And so I think this may be one of those places that allows them to do that.
That is wonderful, because you don't want to put people who have been so valuable away to just vegetate.
Right.
You're really robbing your country of some of the great informative things that these people have to say. They've lived the life.
Right. I have one man here who was in the Tuskegee in the Air Force, and he said it was only because of the Tuskegee that kept him alive. And he was so proud to know that these days.
Of course.
And he's right here now.
That's wonderful.
Talking about it.
Wonderful.
So you just never know when something's going to come up and help people
That's
look
right.
forward to the next day
Right.
and the next year. Something's going to be better.
So let's talk about your books.
Okay.
You have 2 books. Was
Right.
Multy the first book?
Yes, I have Multi, The Search to Belong. And what I said was that my kids loved cats. They loved dogs too, but they loved cats. And I thought, well, if I have a book that's talking about all the diversity in a cat, everybody could read it, and it would apply to them also.
Right.
So what I did was Multi, The Search to Belong. And I showed them how the cats would have all of these colors, and then throughout the book it showed how Multi, no matter what color they were, they all could look for what they could be doing to help each other and to move on with life. So that was my family management book for Multi and the young kids.
And that represents multicultural.
Multicultural.
Right.
So sort of an allegory for that.
Right.
That one became so important that most of the kids, they gave them to them to let them see. The other one was for teenagers, because as my young grandsons got to be teenagers, I needed something else a little better than Multi.
Right.
So I had one called A Family Teacher Mentor Guide. And what this was to tell them that no matter what diversity they were, they also developed the whole constitution of this country, and that all of us are diverse in this country.
Right.
We're one of the few nations that ever had this.
Right.
So having to have them show this, and then all through the book I showed how the family can apply the book, how teachers can apply it to the students, and how mentors who aren't in the school system can apply it to their community. So the book shows all during the life cycle how they can do this and how they can share it with other people. If they ever have it in a school yard, or a school class, then they will be able to use that book, and then what other books I hope I'll be able to write soon.
That's
And
wonderful.
They'll be able to tell people it's okay to be diverse. Our country's diverse.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, we are a diverse
That's
country
right.
in the whole world. And the whole world is saying one thing: we all are the same people.
That's right.
And
they're really pulling for us to pull this diversity together.
Exactly.
I think one of the other things that we miss is I went to Japan for several times, well, I guess 3 or 4 years in a row, and I noticed that they don't have facilities for the aging like they have here, because they have a little room in their little house for when grandma and grandpa are going to come to live with them, and there's a place for them in the family and in the culture. And I think this is so important for this country to do, because we more or less farm the the parent out. The grandparent is gone. This person has already lived many of the things that you're about to live, and they're loaded with all of this information, and no one's taking advantage of it.
Right.
So I think that one of the other things we need to do, besides push the diversity, is get rid of this discrimination of age, and stop saying that a person is ready to farm out and is no longer useful to this society, because everybody has a role to play, and a person who has retired and is no longer working is not somebody over the hill. This is somebody rather waiting to give back to the community if they will stop farming him out and say, go play golf, you know, or just sit around with the boys. This is no time to do that. This country needs help in so many areas, and I can tell you, many of the people with the answers are sitting in our rest home facilities, and we need to cut them loose.
Yeah, one of the persons that I've helped are those who want to know, how can we help older people?
Right.
And that's what they're writing now.
That's good.
They're trying to help them as well as possible, because the government doesn't know how.
No, they don't. No,
So
and they got their hands full.
They have to depend on women's groups and the community.
That's right.
Because they are mostly into the fact that they'll become elders themselves.
Right.
So it'll be very helpful to do this. And I even wrote to President Obama and Mrs. Obama, and I thanked them because they sent me a birthday message.
Oh, isn't
And
that
I was just
nice?
so delighted. And they sent it to me, and they said they wanted to help share the fact that I have had so many challenges, so many stories during my life. And they wanted to thank me for it on my birthday.
Wonderful.
So I have that, and I thought that was so great.
Did you send copies of your books to them?
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, that's
I sent
wonderful.
it to the two young girls, not to them.
Oh, wow, that's great.
I sent it to the two young girls so that they could see it.
Oh, that is
Right.
wonderful.
And so since I am an International Society of Poets, I also have many, many, many poems that I've written over the years.
my
Maybe
goodness.
about 10 books that it's been in. And
My
I want
goodness.
to help with poetry, because some older people could write poetry now.
Absolutely.
And I think you may not want a story, you may want a music.
That's
you may
right.
want to dance. Whatever you want to do, that's what you should do when you're an elder. Whatever all your life you may have wanted to do it now.
Do it now. That's
Do it
right.
now.
And this.
And let everybody see what you wanted to do and couldn't because you had to work or work with family.
You had to raise your family, you know, and a lot of people look so down on getting what they call getting old. Let me tell you what, getting old is not about aging. Is not about getting old. Aging is about becoming better than you were, and using all the trials and tribulations you've been through, passing not only on to your families, but to the world at large. And that's what I love about your books and what you've done. You've been fighting for peace for how long now?
Oh, all my life.
All your life. What are some of the things that you did with your March on Peace?
I guess really most of it was when I moved to Orinda about 50 years ago. I think it was someone who was a mayor in Oakland that said over television, "Who is this Carolyn Stokes? She's a nemesis to the city of Oakland." And then I moved to Orinda from Richmond, and the mayor of Orinda said, "Over my dead body, would anyone of any minority move in this town?" So over the years, I asked my friends, I said, "Oh, is the mayor's dead body over?"
Well, that's wonderful. You know, the whole point is called challenging, isn't it?
Right.
People, you have to challenge the status quo, or you don't grow.
Right.
You don't grow as a person. You don't grow as a nation. You certainly don't grow as a world. The world is constantly in change, in the midst of change. And I'm just delighted to know that you've done all these things, and I think you're such a great example. And I hope when you do your book on aging that you will go out, because as you know, African Americans are more likely to have a stroke than anyone else. Has to do with diet a little bit, but it has to do with this go-to attitude you have. I just think that's just the strongest thing that you have.
Right.
Yes.
And I think there's one other thing that I would like very much to say is that Well, again, while I was having my speech therapist, I had a book that was given to me called The 3 Cups of Tea. And I didn't know that over in the Middle East, that before you had any kind of confrontation with anybody or greeting them, you had to have 3 cups of tea first. And the whole book is telling all of the different kinds of feeling and everything else they had as they were going through 10 years in those countries. And what I found out was this was a man, an American, who went over there and he established schools for boys and then mainly for girls over 10 years who had never in their life were forbidden to have education or they were killed.
Oh my.
And so they all over those years helped people to decide what it was to have a girl have an education in this country. So 3 Cups of Tea tells the beautiful story, horrible, the distinguished groups that were there. But
why don't you hold that book up and let them see what a lovely photograph is on the front of it. 3 cups of tea.
And my AAUW member group that was in Orinda is listed in this book as one of those who helped them get women's studies in the school system.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And the other one is the next one that he wrote later called Stones to Schools. And that's in the remotest part of all China, Afghanistan, all of India. They found out that they were able to pull up girls' schools. Never had it before in the history.
And you see?
And now they went to all of the people in this country, their country, all the military, everything. And just last year, 2009, they had all of the military saying they were going to stop the fighting and create education for their sons and daughters, because that's going to be the secret of getting peace in all this country.
And you have already been there, done that.
Well, I just think that this works so well.
That is wonderful.
I have not yet gotten my area of family management in the schools because they said women don't need it. So I'm hoping that these books, my other books, my old friends, all this circle of friends that we have will be able to say, yes, we need to get family management in the schools so they can get a degree.
That's right.
And earn money by being a parent and a parent. So if this happens, men will then balance women.
Yes.
Not be greater than women.
No.
But balance women so that they each will take care of what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. And you know who will be the winners? The next generation.
The next generation. Yes.
And that's what, to me, when everybody asks me, why are you here? I say, we're here to make the world a better place for those who come after us.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Right.
Well, Carolyn,
I may not be here, but those young people can carry on that stress. And I think no more stress, I hope.
No.
I hope we can move ahead today.
That's right.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you,
and what
Carolyn.
your sons are doing too.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Because all of us together, if our sons and daughters do it,
that's right.
It'll pass on.
You know, it's a family thing.
Exactly.
And what it also does is when you work as a family, you stay healthy.
Exactly.
It's the same way that you could come back and bounce back like a rubber ball. I mean, it's just amazing. But Carolyn, thank you so much, because you have opened the shadows that people go into when they have a stroke. They sort of disappear. You're back out here after no time telling people what it is, writing about it, shedding light on something that you personally had suffered, which is a very brave and courageous thing to do. But it shed light on something that we hope that this information that you have in your next book will help people recover from something that's really a waste of a human intelligence. Because the human mind, you have to apply it when we're trying to build a world of peace. So thank you so much for watching and listening and being with this absolutely outstanding woman who's just begun her new life all over again. Thank you very much. I'm Jerry Lange, and this is
Carolyn Stokes.
And we bid you a good day and love and peace.
I guess since I was a small child, I've always relied on poetry to help me get over the challenges and the changes and even the good things that I had in life. And I became an international poet, which I still share today. But one of the things that I find that I'd like to share with everyone I see is the reality of change. That you can change no matter what you have in the past. You can change and you can gear yourself towards a future that you like. The reality of change. Anger and hostility are on the way out. Empathy and collaboration are things we all shout. Look at the conflict that is within your own range. How can we help to resolve it? Just be the change. Thank you.